If it was up to me, we'd never end free agency, but it's pretty quiet out there on the streets, Johnny Venerable. But should the Cardinals, should they dip their toe into a certain trade market the rest of the offseason remaining?
What would it take to acquire the likes of Denzel Ward and Jaire Alexander, Green Bay Packers, Cleveland Browns, respectfully? And it's time to put some respect on one Jalen Milroe. Did you see us 40? We're talking about it. PHNX Cardinals starts now.
So fast.
Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Brack in Studio K. We welcome back Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire. Behind the mic, what a loaded Wednesday show we have for you all. Of course, All-City Network NFL draft analyst Fran Duffy stops by later to talk all things draft. Who's worth taking at edge rusher at pick 16? But first, we start with a hello, sir, to Brack.
Good evening. What's up, Mr. J? I see you. Ozzy, Shaft, Jules Phoenix, Mr. Fat Gangster, JP. I see you, Garrow. Colin, I like that spelling right there. How about Johnny C? Alberto K2 squad. Hanshot first. Squeedo here? Or what is the name again? I'm sorry, I botched it for you.
Greedo.
Greedo shot second.
Guido.
Yeah, Guido. Was that in The Godfather? Was that what I was referencing? You'll never know. You'll never know. I won't let you know. But Fran Duffy mentioned later. We're going to talk some. What's the latest as far as what he's here in 16? How's that looking for the Cardinals? And then T-Mac, bit of a polarizing pro day. Cam Scatterboo, not really he didn't participate in the Big 12 pro day, right? He's ready to go here in Tempe.
The elites don't need to do that. Thanks.
I like the way you said Tempe, by the way, but add a little bit of flair to it.
That's right.
Did you have to add in Scatterboo though after talking about T-Mac?
We're just talking about our boys. We're talking about the Valley's
same caliber of prospect, Damon, both first-round picks.
Me and Bo have had a little bit of back and forth here at the office. Full disclosure, Johnny. Because I feel like Bo treats, in as much as he hates Cam Scatterboo, he even treats him like his sweet angel boy compared to T-Mac, who I think he basically might as well just like spit on his draft profile.
Okay,
and just say, oh, he's gonna be a bust to me every day. So. It just, it feels like T-Mac's in the news and Bo just has to make it about Cam Scatterboo. Sad.
I want to maybe take get a pulse of the chat, those tuning in today, and just I want you to think about this and then let us know who's the more popular prospect in this draft. Is it Teteroa McMillan or is it Cameron Scatterboo?
Nationally or locally?
Nationally.
It's Cam Scatterboo. It's not even close. Popular? We saw Fran Duffy come on this show 6 weeks ago and says every fan base wants Cam Scatterboo. Now, where you choose to draft him varies by opinion, I think. Like Cardinals notwithstanding, like most fans are like, give me Cam Scatterboo on day 2 or day 3 of the NFL draft. Damon, we didn't hurt to share this with you yesterday, kind of off the cuff here. Benjamin Albright was responding to some tweets on Twitter. He had given his first 5 or 6 picks of the draft, how things were shaking out right now. And somebody asked him about T-Mac. His response, as Ben can only do, very cutthroat, saying basically that the fans are higher on him than the media. Or excuse me, the media and fans are higher on him than NFL executives, which leads you to believe that the T-Mac could be in for a rude awakening in the top 20. What do you think about that?
I think if he ended up in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform, a Denver Broncos uniform, a Los Angeles Chargers uniform, those are almost best case scenario options
for
T-Mac. going to franchises that are established, have quarterbacks in place, have identities. I would love it. Keep me as far away from the Panthers and Saints and Browns and Patriots as I can. Maybe not Patriots.
So they might be rebuilding. You're saying a tumble down the draft board would benefit?
I'd say it's not the end of the world.
Okay.
You know what? That's the sign of a good friend. You want the best for your friend, right? Some of these quarterbacks and these franchises, they're wide receiver wastelands. So
I want to make just one last point here, if I may.
Okay.
Because when we talk about Cam Scatterbo and we talk about his draft stock, it continues to go like that. And then when I hear Tedero McMillan and we're talking about his draft stock, I look at it's going like this. It's declining. So we've got, two different trajectories, two different trends.
Could they meet at some point together? I don't know what I'm doing here, and simultaneously be drafted, several picks between each other. We'll see. That's not up.
You guys wish everybody here at PHNX Sports outside of me and Kevin Thomas, it feels like also wishes that. And that's fine, because you know what? We might be a few, but we're a proud few.
That's right.
And we're repping the Wildcats here for
Wildcats have a huge fan base. Come on now.
I mean, not in this workplace, not in this chat, certainly.
Look, it's a humble group, and it's them against the world, and they're digging in. And I can appreciate that. I really can. I just call it like I see them,
We are going to do a mock draft later in the show, and I have given Scouts honor that I will not manipulate it, flub with it, cut away to alternate personalities. So today's mock draft has a chance to be one of the best we've ever done. I got it out of my system. It will not be the worst. It will not be Kermit meme. It will be it's going to be the best mock draft we've ever done.
But actually, I'd love to see behind the scenes here as we get into our conversation, Damon on the back end remove Kermit meme from just the system, so it won't happen.
I don't know if we need to do that. Save it for a rainy day.
Bees, Damon's, Marine Cats, the few, the proud. What if we were Damon Scat? What about that? There's Damon Cat. There's Damon Scat.
I fell in love with Cam Scatterbo a long time ago. I thought we all collectively fell in love with him the day he sat with us for 45 minutes at the NFL Combine.
Within reason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yours is like, it's unhealthy. Ours is, it's a good, healthy, like, hey, he's a cool kid. We wish him nothing but the best, but we're not like standing outside of his house with a boombox saying, come to stay in Tempe and play for the Cardinals.
I like this right here. Evil Kermit was badass. It was badass. Do the Cardinals need an upgrade in their secondary? So I know some people kind of sleeping on the fact that we suggested and reported more accurately that the Cardinals are going to add a veteran corner. Willing to stake everything on that. Okay. Cardinals are going to add a corner here before the draft, a veteran corner of note to come in and compete. They haven't done so yet. They have hit the snooze button since the Asante Samuel visit. Now, poor Asante Samuel, as we outlined the last several days, reportedly hasn't taken another visit yet, right? So is it his health? Is it negotiations with the Cardinals? I mean, I feel like if he had a good market, he'd be taking other visits to leverage that. I wondered if something came up in his physical that just nobody liked, and maybe they have to reevaluate. Maybe he has to do another circle back in a month to 6 weeks. I have no idea. Here's what I do know. The Cardinals are waiting in the wings for the right opportunity. And Bo, as we touched on a little bit yesterday, could that opportunity not come from free agency, but come from the form of an NFL draft pick moved for a veteran cornerback? The two most notable, of course, Cleveland's Denzel Ward and the Green Bay Packers' Jaire Alexander.
Yeah, two guys that have played at a high level in the same draft class. Denzel Ward was fourth overall in 2018, and then down the draft board was Jaire Alexander out of Louisville, and they've had pretty stunning careers, both of them. Both the Packers and the Browns hit there, and I think that if those guys are available, despite the large chunk of change that they're owed on their remaining deals. And I think Ward's like 3 more years left on that 4-year extension he signed, and Alexander's got 2 more seasons left both right around like $26-27 million per season on average. The Arizona Cardinals should check out these two playmaking defensive backs. I think that they do everything that you would want in a Jonathan Gannon defensive secondary.
Yeah, I think we're going to look at tail of the tape here in a second, but both have kind of worn out their welcome directly or indirectly. Jaire Alexander and LaFleur do not seem to get along. And what works against Alexander is that he has not been healthy the last 2 years, whereas Denzel Ward's been a good teammate. He's played a lot, but that's just not a good football team. They're talking about today the most like fresh hell quarterback room imaginable could be put together in 2025. You guys didn't see this. The Browns reportedly like Carson Wentz to add to their quarterback room that includes Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett. I mean, if you're doing that, you're waving the white flag. Maybe you're taking Abdul Carter. Get Denzel Ward and his $25 million cap hit at 27 years old out of the building. Like, start anew. You're tanking 2025 if that's your quarterback room. You're waiting for Watson's deal to be off the books.
Right.
You should be in asset accumulation mode and trading a player the caliber of Denzel Ward for a day 2 pick, maybe as high as pick 47, we don't know, would be in your best interest unequivocally. And there are people in the Browns media that are kind of suggesting that it's something they could pursue if this offseason continues to kind of go in the current direction.
Yeah, when you first kind of notified me on this, or looked into this, it was like a Browns blog, and they were like suggesting a first round pick, and I was like, no, that ain't gonna get it done. I mean, unless you're talking about you're down at the bottom of the first round. Even then, I think it's a bit too rich, even for a player the caliber of Denzel Ward. And I think Ward, no doubt about it, justifiably is going to command maybe a higher pick than Jaire Alexander, just because this isn't like Jaire Alexander's first rodeo. Like, he hasn't been. This is the second offseason in a row he's been kind of on the trade block, or rumored to be. And, it just seems like it's an inevitable divorce between the Packers and Alexander in some capacity. And I mean, maybe best case, he just gets released, outright released, but we'll see how they play this thing. But it would cost you significantly less draft capital in order to do that. But that's also because Ward has been available and he's been productive more recently. But yeah, I mean, these are two very viable options. No doubt about it. Like, I put it out there today, like, Over the Cap has the Cardinals with $41 million in effective cap space.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough to do damage anywhere you want. I mean,
a lot of teams started with that amount.
Yeah. A lot of teams started with that. And the Cardinals, basically what effective cap space is, like, it takes into account, like, the projected rookie classes numbers that comes on there, what your 51 is going to project out to be. And so, the $41 million represents, what they really have to play around with here the remainder of the offseason. So that's enough to really do whatever you want. It's too much, to be honest with you. And it's like, what are you saving it for? And you don't want, it's now going to be probably 2 consecutive seasons where you've got way too much cap space available, and we'll see how much you can roll over. But it's gonna, Monti Ossenfort's got it all like hidden away for a rainy day for some reason. But it's like, this team is in contention, and that's why we're talking about, or wants to be in contention. That's why we're talking about 2 top cornerbacks from their respective draft class.
It also fits the timeline when the Philadelphia Eagles made the transition, loaded up with Gannon and Sirianni and company. Big play Slay. Darius Slayton went from Detroit to the Eagles. You remember, for a 3rd and 5th rounder.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to take a guess? I think he was about 28. No older than 29. He was 28 years old. I mean, almost this very specific timeline. Now, the Cardinals still have a ways to go, even to match that front 7 from, JG's 70-plus sacks. But the timeline makes sense. Do the players make sense? Let's take a look. It's tail of the tape here on PHNX Cardinals with Ward versus Alexander. Again, Ward is 27. Alexander just 28 years old. Like, age is not a factor. You're doing this deal to get at least 2+ years of high-end football out of these players, right? Fit a timeline. Go win the division. Go win the NFC West. support your pass rush, right? Let these guys eat the back half and mentor Max Melton and Garrett Williams. PFF grades, are always a little bit subjective here. Ward historically has been better. This year, Alexander was better, specifically in coverage, but he only played 7 games. Ward, obviously, more interceptions for his career. It is funny. So Alexander is signed for 2 more seasons, Ward for 3, but they both have void years on the back end of their deal. The cap hit for Ward goes up dramatically after this year, and Alexander, it's pretty consistent the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I look at these, and it's just like, it's not necessarily the Browns want to get away from the players. Maybe in the Packers case, that's it with LaFleur and Alexander. I don't think they have the appetite to pay this money given to where they're at. The Packers, I just feel like that relationship, that's coming to a head. I think you could get Jaire Alexander for a day 3 pick. I don't.
Well, he's kind of damaged goods, right? I mean, he's dealing with the injury. Last report on him basically from last season was he had his knee scoped that he was having, surgery for a PCL injury. So, not great. Is he going to be available to start the season? But like for the Packers having to stare down, continuing to take on his contract.
Yeah.
That's probably tough for them. But like his performance, I thought, the Packers, he was at one point 1 season's worth of time. I know it's not like longevity here, but he was regarded as the top, like 1 or 2 corners in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ward to me, you probably have to have that conversation for pick 47. He's younger. He's more consistent. He's healthier. And the Browns, who knows what their direction is, but they just had to cut Dalvin Tomlinson to pay Myles Garrett. Do they really want to pay? The Browns aren't winning anything this year. Do you really want to pay Denzel Ward and depreciate that value? It's like when the Cardinals should have traded Patrick Peterson. Once upon a time, they had an offer at the trade deadline. Kimes said no to a first rounder from the Eagles. And I think Aguilar would have been included in that deal. It was a throwaway extra player. I mean, you got to know when to sell on some of these guys. And the era of the Browns, Myles Garrett's in his own category because he's the best player in recent franchise history. Everybody else, Nick Chubb's still a free agent. Like that era of Browns football of 5 to 7 years ago, that's over now. And so thinking about taking the next step and how do we clean up the Watson mess while also paying a defensive end over $30-40 million a year, you have to make decisions like this. So I don't know if the Cardinals would flip 47 for Denzel Ward, but it's something I'd think about.
If they get the edge spot figured out at 16, I think they'd be more apt to do it just because of the depth of defensive tackle or defensive line in this draft. And we can kind of cross-reference Fran Duffy here at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think because there's not going to be the depth at the cornerback position where you feel like you're going to be able to upgrade. Like you either trade it and you bring in a veteran, and that's been like the talk that we've had on this show where you've been steadfast in your reporting that they're interested in a veteran cornerback. That's what they want. They see value as far as games played and experience. So yeah, you would be probably just trusting your board down the line and realizing like you said, like your roster kind of calls for making a move and adding a potential ball hawking cornerback on the outside. Like Jaire Alexander, Denzel Ward, and Garrett Williams, and then the back end with Budda Baker. That's a pretty ferocious defensive secondary.
Max Melton, Taylor Demerson. They want to improve. I mean, let's just quickly, this starting defense, how much better would it look if you added one of those 2 players plus at 16, Mykel Williams, or a trade down, you add picks, right? You load up that front. Suddenly this defense went from a liability just personnel-wise, not coaching, to, I mean, maybe the strength of your team. I mean, you do a couple tweaks here, and the first couple picks of the draft are defensive-centric, and you add a veteran corner a note. I mean, suddenly we're cooking with gas here on a unit that, I mean, I think would rival what the LA Rams have done. And that's what the bar should be. It's like, that's the team you should be competing against. Nobody nationally thinks that's the bar, but you are a fluke play away off of Trey McBride's helmet from sweeping their ass this past year. continue, flush that position unit and put pressure on Matthew Stafford. We're going to put pressure on our guy, Fran Duffy, around the corner. Did Jalen Milroe vault himself into the top 100 with a ridiculous 40 time? Plus, what's the best case scenario to trade up for the likes of Mason Graham in the top 10 for the Arizona Cardinals? Plus, we're going to look at the cap situation, all that and more. It's a loaded show. Drop a comment, leave a like. It's PHNX Cardinals. We're fired up here on a football Wednesday. I'm fired up to be repping this hat right here, courtesy of my friends at Branded Bills. Again, we have upgraded our hat game. You should too. The headwear is elite. 20% off for your first order with the bonus code PHNX. And they've got snapbacks, which is this one here. They've got the truckers, fitteds, beanies, tees, and more. If you're looking for some gear to help your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills has you covered with the most elite custom headwear money can buy. Again, start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need, I need, everyone needs. The best part is they've got partnerships not only with us, ASU, U of A, the Campus Collection, tremendous, right? They're a locally owned and operated company out of Mesa, Arizona. We know the people. They're great people. Quality headwear. I mean, like in today's day and age, you're overpaying, in the retail space, Bo, for stuff that doesn't last. These hats last. You can look at them. You can see the quality. You can feel the quality. Don't take my word for it. Head to brandedbills.com. Use the bonus code 20% off for PHNX off your first order today. And then, of course, check it out. ALLCITY Network shop Branded Bills for PHNX specific apparel. But you got to check them out now, 20% off.
Let's talk about Timeline. We love Timeline, and it's, of course, trying to get you into a better spot for a more long and fulfilling life. Of course, they've got so much going on with their supplements. You got to check them out. The cells in your body, they're the building blocks for life, and Timeline understands that. And the Timeline supplement works with the cells to give you more energy and feel stronger during workouts. Who doesn't want that? Preserve that health and mobility as you start to age. We all know that all too well. They got their patented ingredients like the MitoPure. It's a postbiotic nutrient that clears your dysfunctional mitochondria. Johnny, you know all about this, you sicko, aka your cells and battery packs. They're going to get you on the right track. MitoPure, it recharges your cells and helps your body systems work better. And it's a supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. MitoPure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without the change in exercise. That's a big-time win. You want to be a big-time winner? Why not you save 10% off your first order of MitoPure right now from Timeline? Go to timeline.com/PHNX today to get started. That's timeline.com/PHNX to get 10% off MitoPure from our friends at Timeline, code PHNX.
Drop a like on this video. Again, we got almost 1,000 people watching live. The goal always on a free agent frenzy program, 500 likes. And Cardinals aren't making moves, but other teams are. Daniil Hunter, veteran for the Houston Texans, just got a raise because he's so good at football. So that just goes to show, I mean, sometimes you have to invest and guys reward you. Cam Robinson goes to the Texans. And then how about our guy, Rondale Moore, finally finding a landing spot, ends up with whom else? The Minnesota Vikings, who he cooked, by the way. The best play I've ever seen live from Kyler Murray or otherwise. Kyler Murray scrambling out of the pocket, hitting Rondale Moore for the tutty against the Vikings.
That was year 3 Kyler Murray. That was the year they started 7-0.
Yep.
That game was not a great start for them, but they came back and won. Thank you, Greg Joseph, for missing the field goal at the end, by the way. But you're right. Like, try to recapture your mindset after that play went down. Like what you thought to be true about Kyler Murray and Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins.
Ozzy saying it was 77 yards. It was one of the pass rushers was unblocked, or it felt like it. He spun out of it and turned the corner on the run and threw that ball up. I thought Rondale Moore was like Tyreek Hill 2.0. I mean, Rondale Moore early as a rookie was electrifying. His camp was electrifying.
It wasn't even his best catch in that game. Like his best catch was the one on the sideline. It was another deep pass from Kyler. It was really unreal. He toe tapped, and he showed like people were like, well, he's 5'7", and you didn't worry at that point because what he put on display. But the spin out from the pressure on Kyler Murray and putting it downfield, it was a thing of beauty. And you're just like, is this what it's going to be like from now on? I mean, because he was coming off of the Tennessee Titans 5 touchdown performance. Was it even the previous week? Was that week 2 of the season?
Yes. So he went up from the Titans performance to that Vikings performance. Then the next week, or maybe it was the week after, they faced Washington in there too and just completely destroyed the Washington football team. I mean, it's sad because it just shows the state of the franchise since then. 2021 Kyler Murray for 2.5 months was about as good as it gets for Cardinals fans. But yeah,
the electric factory, man. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Yeah. We didn't know that we were gonna settle in and like things weren't gonna like you just thought it was gonna go, things were gonna go nutty from there. But then, obviously like they kicked the crap out of the Texans, who were a team that was vying for the top overall pick, and JJ Watt's arm basically falls off on the field. He has to get it reattached, arm reattachment surgery, I believe it was. And like the team just wasn't the same. Like they got the AJ Green incident. He doesn't turn around. They lose the Packers. Was that primetime game. And then it was like, then they back in the playoffs, and then everything else just falls apart.
I mean, your best 3 players, arguably, Diop, JJ Watt, and Kyler Murray all got hurt. I mean, and Kyler Murray came back, but wasn't the same. DeAndre Hopkins tried to come back against the Rams on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football, was not the same. And then JJ Watt didn't come back until the playoff game. So yeah, it hurts. But guess what? That team was old, and old players get hurt. Rodney Hudson got hurt. I mean, they just, AJ Green fell off the cliff the second half. That's why the Cardinals staunchly committed, draft and develop, right? Young players, and then just supplementing. That entire team was built off of free agency. The Steve Keim special, where it's like, we're going to get these guys for about 6 to 8 weeks and they're going to play great. And then when the other teams get their act together, we're going to kind of crumble down the stretch. But Cliff was in his bag early on. Fran Duffy, always in his bag, going to join us here momentarily. We're getting a graphic ready here in a little while. We're going to look at the state of the Cardinals cap space. You had mentioned it. So between $40 and $50 million, depending on who you talk to. And they could do adjustments. They could cut players. They could readjust. They have a ton of money left. And I just feel like right now, knowing what we know about the cornerback room, maybe what they're looking at on the offensive line, and maybe even a veteran wide receiver, there's an avenue, as you said, like there's no reason not to spend this money. Trey McBride's extension. I saw some people like when you posted that, and I threw something on Twitter late in the day, basically saying like, well, they're not going to spend because they got guys jump up in cap hits next year and blah, blah, blah. First of all, understand this. Jalen Thompson's off your books next year, right? $10 million. Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones are probably done after this year. Same with Sean Murphy.
Well, after their defensive player of the year performance. Yeah.
Yeah, we would assume so. The Cardinals shed much more cap than they take on, even with a raise to Trey McBride or if you want to give a raise to Garrett Williams or whomever. Their cap space is going to look pretty comparable. Like if I go to overthecap.com right now, Bo, and I look at this team projected for 2026, their cap space is going to be healthy for them. Again, like Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones and Sean Murphy-Bunting, if they don't perform, you can move off of them and free up, like do what the Chargers did this offseason, free up like $30+ million.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of dead weight. And that's like the advantage to Monti Ossenfort playing free agency that he did. Like you didn't see a whole lot of advantages to it. Sure, like it provided you Mac Wilson and you were able to hit on a guy under the radar like Evan Brown. But like your big money purchases that you made in the cap in free agency in 2024 you didn't go beyond really 2-3 year deals. And you're not going to have somebody like, damn, like I wish we had this much cap space, but we're strapped because we got a couple more years on this. Like the Vikings are going to be when they look at Will Fries and he's playing, year 4 of that 5-year contract and they're locked in. So like, I think that's just, that's what kind of the smart maneuvering there, where if that kept them maybe out of the negotiations with some of these top free agents, you can see some of the silver linings there.
Next year, Kyler Murray's cap hit is the biggest it's ever going to be in its current structure at $53 million. Now, if he plays well this year, you'll happily cut that check. And who knows, maybe you push some money down the line, free up some space, or it's a very movable contract after this year if things go awry again. So much flexibility for this team. I know there's been a lot of people up in arms about Josh Sweat, what he's making. Again, his contract status this year, I think his cap hits under $10 million. It's relatively tame for this team. And so 4-year deal where most of the money is equated for the first 3 years. You reported that, Bo. It's interesting. This franchise, this team right now, they are not in a position where 1 or 2 more contracts, even if they traded for a cornerback, are going to plateau what they've built so far.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not going to put you in a position where you're cap strapped at any point down the road here, and like that's what you look at as far as the corners, yeah, for sure. Where it's just like Alexander or Ward is going to 2-3 year deals, or 2 years, 3 years remaining on those deals, and you can get out of there.
We're getting out of here to the next break, and then we're going to be joined by our guy, Fran Duffy, talking all things NFL draft coming up. I'll tell you what, I mentioned our friends at Branded Bills earlier. Perfect combo is our friends at Shady Rays. You're styling and profiling here in the Valley and beyond. It's summer season right around the corner. I know a lot of people are on spring break right now. If you're heading out, make sure to do it with the best shades, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, Shady Rays, they have durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures, friends. Again, I have had probably 10 pairs, and I still have the large majority of them because they last. And when they don't, contact them. If you don't love your shades, exchange them for a new pair or return worry-free for 30 days. Again, there's no risk when you shop. Order them, try them out. You don't like them, send them back, get another pair. Again, we're going to hook you up. You can get 35% off using the bonus code PHNX. That's the best deal. Most of the shades are already supremely discounted based on a lot of like the big box shade people out there, the big box corporations that are overcharging. You can get a couple different pairs. I always like when I go and I hit the checkout button and you can see they're like, hey, we got some clearance pairs here for under $20, under $15. ShadyRays.com, bonus code PHNX. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people, Bo.
Absolutely. Shady Rays. You know, I'm excited about with the end of the week coming up, but it's always a good day to get some Spinato's Pizzeria, right? You can make that order online, Spinato'sPizzeria.com. You can also find out more about Spinato's Suns watch parties.
Ooh.
You know, Phoenix Suns, they're in action, tonight? They play the Bulls tonight? Is that a big game? That's a big game, right? They're trying to get themselves back in the play-in.
Finals rematch.
Ooh. Feel the excitement. I saw the Bulls. They're the 9th seed in the East, and the Suns are what? They're 11th.
I'll tell you what. We still haven't forgotten in Phoenix what they did in '93. Was it?
Yeah. We didn't. We'll never forget what happened there.
Can I just say, too bad teams play tonight. Can we just say that?
Spinato's Pizzeria. Look. Spinato's Pizzeria, they have their PIZZA contest. It's just like horse. You can win yourself some tickets. You can eat some great za. What's better than that? Spinato's Pizzeria. For all the info on watch parties, pizza, basketball contest, Spinato'sPizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. How dare you? How dare you, Johnny?
Again, I love Spinato's, but come on now. Speaking of official, this is our official NFL draft insider expert. It's the franchise mode, folks. Fran Duffy, ALLCITY draft analyst, joins the program. I feel like we talk to you every week, but so much happens between your visits that we have to catch up on, especially as we get down. We're about a month away from the big show. And I know Bo's going to kill me. I have to ask you off the top, like Jalen Milroe at his pro day today ran his 40 time. And I feel like it's the most glossed over story. He helped himself, did he not? I mean, 4.37 is insane. I don't care who you are. If I'm a team right now and I need some juice, you're using a top 100 pick on this kid, aren't you?
That's why I was shocked that he didn't run in Indianapolis. I felt like that this is the buzz that he could have built out in the combine if he had chosen to run out in Indy. But look, he waited for the pro day, and I've seen the times anywhere from the 4.37 you mentioned, Johnny, all the way out to like the mid 4.4s. Regardless, that's fast,
yeah,
fast for a quarterback. So yeah, I mean, look, Jalen Milroe, I've seen him outrun the entire Georgia defense, out leverage him, get to the corner and pull away in space. I mean, he's one of the most electric players we've seen at the quarterback position in the last few years. So not surprising whatsoever, the results from today.
Can I just say real quick, Bo, like, wouldn't you just feel better as a franchise? Like, a team took Anthony Richardson based off of tools, 4th overall. You could take a kid like this that people deem, not a conventional quarterback in a bad QB class in the 3rd or 4th round and just feel much better about yourself. I mean, because I just look at it, it's like what the Colts thought Anthony Richardson could be. I think you can make the same case for this kid.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think that I'll throw in,
maybe you don't agree.
I'm throwing Bo the life preserver there. No, I think that, look, they are built differently, right? In terms of like the overall stature. What I'll say about Milroe though, like everyone you talk to at Alabama, anyone that you talk to that's been through Alabama raves about his intangibles, the work ethic, like everything that, that he's going to put in, he's going to maximize everything he's got. And so that was one of the big selling points with Jalen Hurts. When the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, I remember I was working for the Eagles at the time and it was the COVID draft. It was 2020. So I'm in my basement and I've got an earpiece in, and right before we go live, it was like, 15 seconds before we go live, Fran, the pick is Jalen Hurts. We're live in 10. And I'm like, holy smokes! Like, how are we gonna sell this? Because the Eagles had just paid Carson Wentz, a year and a half earlier. And look, the big selling point was that you got A+ ability with A+ intangibles. You bring that together, and you hope the guy can reach his ceiling. If you believe that with Milroe, he's going to go in the top 100.
Johnny's infatuation with Jalen Milroe it's a bit strange.
I like the tool. I'm a toolsy guy. I like the tools, and I like the person. I just think it would be fun. Can we have some fun? I didn't know we didn't like fun here.
Not here. I mean, those in the chat are having fun calling him Tamo, Anthony Richardson, and Walmart Justin Fields. Both funny to me. Let's stay on the conversation of it, polarizing pro days, because we had, Johnny's he's eating up 4.37, and he's like, that's the number. And then we get the early number on Tetairoa McMillan from University of Arizona, but it's more reported in the 4.5s. What's the feeling on T-Mac? I saw you join our friends with DMVR Broncos talking about him at 20. That's a far cry from where we were talking about him in the top 10.
Yeah, I think that's the range we're talking, right? It's anywhere from number 6 with the Las Vegas Raiders down to, I don't think it would be any further than Denver, maybe 22. You get into that. I know that Daniel Jeremiah just had him going to 22 to the Chargers. Like, I can't imagine him falling too much further than that. So that's the range. And really, this is just a testament to the receiver group in general, where everybody's going to be kind of graded similarly. So depending on how each team is going to view that pecking order, that's going to determine who goes off the board where. And so I think when you're looking at T-Mac, if there's a team that needs a receiver in the middle of the first round and they're like, hey, you know what, like we really need some juice. Well, you're not looking at T-Mac, right? But again, that's based off the film. You weren't looking at T-Mac, right? And so I don't think that the needle moves all that much based off of today. That's yesterday, I guess. But I think when you're looking at Tetairoa McMillan, not a big surprise based on what we saw at the pro day.
There are some surprises happening as we get closer to the draft, kind of merging public perception with maybe how league insiders think and feel. And there was a report earlier today or this week that maybe Will Campbell is not the top tackle. Maybe he's not a tackle in general. He might have to pull, T-Rex arms from a couple years ago. What was his name that went to the Titans?
Skoronski.
He might have to pull Skoronski and move to guard. And then you got Membo from Missouri creeping up a little bit, Fran Duffy, into the top 7 to 5 picks. How do you assess that in a tackle class that has some good depth, but those are two of the best in this class?
Johnny, I'm gonna read a stat to you that I shared actually with our CHGO folks earlier today, because we had the same exact conversation with Will Campbell potentially falling to 10 And it was is he a tackle? Is not. One of the first things I did when I came back from the combine, because this was a big conversation out in Indianapolis after we got the official arm length, was all right. Like, let me just watch all of Will Campbell's pure pass sets. So that's PFF has it where they're called true pass sets, removing play action, screens, RPOs, but where it's just basically like, all right, get off the ball and protect the quarterback, right? Stop the pass rusher in front of you. And they just, what I'll do is I'll take those pure pass set numbers, okay? And then I'll see how often are those guys asked to do it. So I'll just basically create a formula in my sheet where it's pure pass sets over snaps played. So what percentage are these guys being asked to drop back in reverse without help, essentially, in pass protection? Over the last decade, and I've got the full 10-year sample on every single offensive lineman drafted, right, that PFF has charted. Will Campbell's been asked to do that 39% of the time. That's higher than any tackler guard drafted in the last decade. With that time, he has given up zero. He's given up as many sacks as you and me during that span. So no sacks, being asked to do it as much as possible. And by the way, was a day one starter at left tackle in the SEC. And one of the things when you're watching, when you're looking at a lot of this data with offensive linemen, when the guys have that huge sample size, typically freshman year, sophomore year, it's a lot of penalties, sacks, pressures. Like, those guys struggle. 18-year-olds going out to block 22-year-olds. It usually doesn't go well. Will Campbell came in day one as a true freshman, started in the SEC, and was lights out. So, yeah, maybe his arms are a little bit shorter than you would like. I'm willing to take that gamble personally on Will Campbell. That's why I still have him as my number one tackle coming in. I do think that he can play tackle. I would be shocked if he were there in the middle of the first round personally, especially in this draft. But to me, he is a lock for me as one of the top players in this draft. If it fails a tackle, I feel good that he's Brandon Scherf and he's going to be an outstanding guard. I think that there's multiple routes to success there.
I'm sure Greg Braggs Jr. that just fueled the fire as far as his emotional roller coaster at 10 for his beloved Bears. Probably hit Taco Bell up for about $40 today. Now, as we start to kind of,
I think the exact quote, Bo, was, if I didn't have a bum knee, I would get up and flip this table over, because that's exactly what I was hoping to hear about Will Campbell.
All right. That's our guy.
It's a very sane take there. Yeah.
As we turn kind of the page to 16, you get the news at Bama, Jahad Campbell shoulder surgery post combine. I mean, that's got to be a dagger to his chances of going in the first round. Am I right by saying that?
No, I still think that he goes first round. I want to dig a little bit deeper. I'm still waiting to hear back from some people on that, in terms of what the long-term potential is there. But from what I understand, he's still going to be fine to go as a rookie. And so again, still hoping to hear back there, just to get kind of official word. But I think ultimately, I don't think it's going to hurt him too bad. But my guess is you'll still hear him by the end of round one.
So my hope is that these dysfunctional teams in the top 10, Fran, stay dysfunctional and do really dumb things. So let's do, I don't want to put you on the clock with percentages, but the kid out of UNC, Hampton, Omarion Hampton is the in vogue player this week, where he could go really high in this draft. What are the chances that Hampton, Genty, and then the tight end from Penn State, Warren, what are the chances that they all go top 12 in your estimation?
We'll say 35, 30, maybe less than that, honestly. I personally would be surprised if Omarion Hampton went number 12. Mel Kiper's put him there in his last two mock drafts to the Dallas Cowboys. I do feel good that Ashton Genty's going to go that high. I feel really good that Tyler Warren's going to go that high. But my guess is that Hampton is probably on the board by the time we get to the 20th pick, the 22nd pick. I think he's still on the board at that point.
And then you got to figure both, we've got through the smoke and mirrors, like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are both going to go top 10. It feels like now things are evening out there. I mean, what's the best case scenario for a guy like Mason Graham for the Cardinals to pursue? Because again, there's a long way to go from 16 into the top 10, but you get around some of those teams at the end of the top 10. Carolina just signed a bunch of defensive linemen. Jets don't need any defensive linemen. Who knows what the Saints are doing? What are the chances that Mason Graham maybe falls to the back half of the top 10?
I think there's a chance. That's an interesting one. And what's funny is that the guys that were talking about Chicago, they were asking, one of the questions I got from one of the diehards who are the teams that could be looking to move up? And I said, all right, well, if you're looking to move up, you're trying to get ahead of Dallas, you're trying to get ahead of San Francisco at 11. Honestly, I hadn't thought about Arizona, and we know Monti Ossenfort is aggressive. We know that he's going to play the board. If a guy like Mason Graham were to fall, the thing is, and this is what I said to those guys, I was like, there's got to be someone that falls that Chicago would be okay passing up on. My guess is if Mason Graham were to fall to them,
they would take him.
They would love Mason Graham too. So that's what makes that one tricky.
I was having a little bit of an internal struggle today as James Pierce Jr. continues to kind of go into my mind for the Arizona Cardinals. And I know there's a bunch of noise off the field. I'm thinking, is this team in a position infrastructure wise, locker room wise, coaching staff wise to take on somebody with a little bit of a couple red flags? I look at the pressure rate, I look at the pass rush win rate, and it's everything that you want from an edge. But then there's like what they talk about off the field or how he's perceived as a teammate. James Pierce Jr. for the Cardinals at 16. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, two things. I would say that, I was talking to somebody this week actually about James Pierce Jr. and the way that he explained to me, he's like an analytics person's dream, because all the next level metrics that you mentioned were outstanding. The production on a per snap basis, you look at like pressures and sacks and hits and, what he did on a per snap basis, outstanding. Goes to the combine, tests out, outstanding. So all the numbers point to James Pierce Jr. being really, really strong. You mentioned the stuff about off the field, and here's the tricky part about the off field stuff. It's nothing where it's like super. There was an incident off the field going back last spring, about a year ago. Nothing. But when you're talking about like the off field stuff and how guys come off in interviews, one person's uncoachable or didn't come off well is another person's edgy. I kind of like the he's got a little something to him, right? Like you kind of get both sides of the coin there. And, so you might hear from one person or two teams or three teams or five teams, but it goes to it only takes one to say like, oh yeah, like we like this kid. We like what this kid was all about. And that's what makes that part of it really tricky for us on the outside. So as far as James Pierce Jr., look, he has the juice, right? He's got the juice that they certainly need coming off the corner.
There was a national draft analyst that we won't name on this show that mocked an interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State to the Cardinals at pick 16 named Gray Zabel. And I don't want to besmirch the kid and disrespect him on this show. But Fran, if that happened, I'd walk off our draft set. 2-part question for you. Where do you have Gray Zabel? What's the earliest he should be drafted? And would you think that it's a good value pick for the Cardinals to take a guard at pick 16?
Probably not. I think that, it would not be an ideal use of the resource. That said, look, Gray Zabel, I did my big board last week. Gray Zabel was 14th on my big board. I'm a big fan of his game. I compared him to Graham Barton when he was coming out of Duke last year, who was a college tackle who made inside the center. I wrote that down after watching him for the first time this fall. I remember watching that game against Colorado, and this guy, he's athletic, he's tough, he's got the proven versatility. He just gets after people, and he's been excellent every step of the process. He was great at the Senior Bowl, best guy down there in Mobile. He aced the combine. So yeah, there's a lot to like there with Zabel. Now you start getting into like needs and things like that here with Arizona. Is it the best use? It's probably not the best case scenario there, but I'm good with the talent. I'm good with the value. It's just, is it the right fit for Arizona at this point?
Well, and I just want to follow up because you mentioned Barton. He fell to Tampa Bay in the 20s. And my argument consistently is, Fran, is like, I don't doubt he's a great prospect and a really good football player. When you're picking in the top 20 or the damn near the top 16 in the Cardinals case, I just don't think you're in a position to take a guard that high, save for a generational the Zach Martin once upon a time fell, to the late teens, if I remember correctly. Like, I do think with centers and guards in particular, you have to kind of earn that right. And the Cardinals are not a Gray Zabel away from making the playoffs when they have holes at pass rush or defensive line, maybe even right tackle. I don't love the value there. When you look at the Cardinals on the surface, because you cover all these teams, you do a deep dive better than anybody. Like, snap judgment, what's the Cardinals' biggest weakness entering the draft right now?
Yeah, they need front seven talent in the worst way possible. They need blue chip difference making needle movers in the front. That is the biggest thing they need.
So not a guard from a 1AA school. Got it.
But here's the thing, right? And this is going to be the issue that everyone's going to have, because again, it goes to the nature of this class where there's not that depth at the top, and so that's going to affect the middle class because more of those guys are going to go. It's the same reason why, like, hey, like Ty Warren going number 6, and I'm like, man, like we just watched Brock Bowers go 14 last year, so you're going to tell me Tyler Warren, who's a really good player, but Ty Warren is not Brock Bowers from a prospect standpoint. I'll go down the list. We've had this conversation before. But to me, like you're going to have those kind of conversations now where if you're looking at Shamar Stewart and it's like, all right, what are the chances if I feel with like 40% conviction that Shamar Stewart is going to become worthy of a top 15 pick versus if I have 85% conviction that Gray Zabel is going to hit his ceiling, like, are you willing to take that bet if you're Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort?
Let's do an exercise here as we get to, as Johnny mentioned, we're almost a month out from the big day, that fateful Thursday. 3 prospects you feel pretty confident would be there for the Cardinals at 16 that you think would fit this franchise?
It's a good question. So 3 that I think would be a good fit. And this is, honestly, we had this conversation a couple weeks ago. I have struggled a bit with Arizona, when it comes to like that point in the draft, like the talent matching the need.
Right. It's and that's where we have a tough time, Fran, is like, yeah, they'd love Mason Graham, duh, or Abdul Carter, duh. But it's like, who are the edge/defensive tackles? Because even in your rankings, it's like, you like Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant. You probably don't like them at pick 16, right? And it's like, can you take Mike Green if you're them? That's where we're having a tough time.
But like, is Mike Green a guy that you feel that Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon would pick, right? And that's one of the things that
on the field, yes. On the field, absolutely.
Right.
Off the field, no chance.
I know, and that's the problem. And that's kind of where I've landed with a couple of these guys. And so, like Will Johnson is typically there, and I'm like, all right, like this would make sense, but corner doesn't really make sense for Arizona. So I've talked about safety with you guys. Like I feel like I've asked you like 2 or 3 separate times since January, like, hey, like would Nick Amawari make sense? You're like, no, like they don't have the room for that guy, right? So to answer the question, here would be the names that would come out to me. If Walter Nolan is there, I think that's a guy that would make some sense. I think that like from a character standpoint, he is like the right, like that's to the edge of, because there's like some whispers of people at Texas A&M didn't love Walter Nolan and it was messy when he left and things like that, which that's typical now. You hear when guys leave. So that is what it is. Goes back to the James Pierce conversation. To me, I think he's worth that bet. I'm taking that at 16. So I think Walter Nolan will be first up on that list. I'll tell you the one guy that I'm starting to love the idea of it is Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State, played for Justin Fry, at Ohio State. You got to wait a little bit on it, potentially, just because coming off the knee. But I think that Josh Simmons is one that would make some sense to me. And then Kenneth Grant has been the most commonly mocked player in terms of like looking at like the big mock drafters. Like Kenneth Grant is the name that keeps popping up, but I guess it would be Shamar Stewart, right? And you're looking at Shamar Stewart. We know what the questions are, but I think in terms of him potentially being there, he would be the other name that I would go with. So I would say Shamar Stewart, Walter Nolan, Josh Simmons.
The best. Fran Duffy, before we get you out of here, we have our one and only Cam Scadaboo designated question. We got it confirmed by Mike Garofalo on our show last week that the Cardinals used the top 30 visit on Cam Scadaboo. In your opinion right now, heading into a pivotal pro day where he's going to run the 40 for ASU, assuming he runs well, what's the earliest Cam Scadaboo could be drafted, in your opinion?
I would say the earliest is round 3. And my guess is that he's going to be there day 3. Interesting that they used a 30 visit on him, just because especially I'm assuming that meant that they couldn't get him for a local for one of the local visits. But I think that I would say the earliest round 3, but he's probably falling to day 3 in the draft. Would be
really. So you think, real quick follow up, is that a byproduct of how strong this running back class is?
Yes. I think that there's just the number of names that we're talking going in that day 2 range. I think that's just naturally going to bump some of those guys down.
Unbelievable insight from our guy, Fran Duffy. Make sure you check out his draft guide. It's right there. Go PHNX.com. His big board, it's there as well. His most recent mock drafts. They're elite. So is Fran Duffy himself. Thank you so much, my man. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, guys. Talk next week.
The best in the business is Fran Duffy. Yeah, it's the franchise mode. Become a diehard. Get his exclusive draft guide, which is better than anything else you can find on any other site. Diehard membership is going to get you a free shirt of your choosing from the merchandise locker, access to Fran Duffy and everybody's work at GoPHNX.com. And then, of course, a discount on future events like, I don't know, maybe a PHNX Cardinals draft party. No better time than to become a diehard. We're going to look at the current state of the Cardinals cap, and we're also going to do a fun little mock draft. That's coming up here. It's PHNX Cardinals.
Let's talk about our friends over at Pure Edibles, Johnny. We love them because they're in over 130 dispensaries statewide, and they are a full-fledged candy company. It's not just about cannabis. It's about the candy. You can check them out, and they're not covered in sugar like their competitors. No, they're not going to bog you down with empty calories or anything like that, but they want something delicious and something that's going to give you the effect that you're looking for. And each effect is outlined right there on the 10 of each Pure Edibles chews, or how about your kicks, just like Starburst or their gummies. Got to check them out right now. Pure Gummies offer sleep support, as well as the candies that have uplifting effects derived from unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana derived from THC. Up the road in Flagstaff, that's where Pure was created. Noble Herb Dispensary made their way down here to Phoenix. That's what they call home now. Pure Gummies designed to be ripped or bit. Perfect for sharing and dialing in that exact dose. Check them out right now. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles from one of the over 130 dispensaries in Arizona.
Drop a like on this video, especially if you like saving money every time you shop at Circle K. We're going to hook you up at America's Thirst Stop. Joining the Inner Circle. It's a free membership program. So easy to download. All you got to do, enter your email, phone number. You're ready to roll. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. They've got tons of exclusive deals and discounts. Go on the app, look under deals, and save money. Thirst has met its match. How about a 79-cent Polar Pop or Froster? All you got to do, join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com, Bo, for more details. Want to welcome everybody who's watching with our many streaming partners. Phenomenal. We got 1,200 people watching live. If you're watching on Twitter, streaming partners or otherwise, jump on over to the YouTubes, gophnx.com, drop a like, jump in the chat. The show has just begun here. We got so much good stuff. Your super chats, a mock draft coming up, and we're going to talk a little cap space with the Arizona Cardinals. Bo, you reported earlier today, Cardinals still very healthy, over $40 million with their cap space here. Entering, I mean, I guess you can call it week 2.5 of free agency, although things have slowed down compared to this time last week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's really quiet out there on the streets. Also want to give a shout out to one of our new diehards. Got his card today, our guy Goose. Goose Congo on Twitter, hitting us up. Thank you so much. Welcome to the family. I hope you enjoyed the nice diehard box that you got in the mail.
Go.
Looks like he did, and excited about that. Having a new diehard and hitting us up on Twitter. If you do, of course, retweet it right away. You get that follow from the beat account. It's exciting times. Added a bunch of new diehards that are part of this community officially. You're all part of this community, but like officially as a diehard, it's fantastic. But yeah, the Cardinals, $41 million in effective cap space. You know, you're projecting what the 6 draft picks are going to cost you. It's the 16th overall pick. It's not the 4th overall pick. Not going to be as expensive as Marv was. Which is also a drop in the bucket, really, what you're paying for Marv versus top receivers. So the Cardinals, they can do as much damage as they want to, is available to them the remainder of the offseason.
Let's take a look via overthecap.com. This is a snapshot of where they're at with their current and their new contracts. If you can see, they're on the screen. Again, Jonah Williams still making $16 million. We haven't seen Jonah. Followed by Jalen Thompson with a $13 million cap at almost $14 million. Justin Jones at $11 million. All the way down, it looks like outside the top 10, damn near, is Josh Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson will have a combined cap hit of just under $15 million this year. Now, their numbers go up each of the next 2 years. Will Sweat in particular. Dalvin's on a 2-year contract. But you talk about it. It's why we always push for free agency. It's like everybody wants to do front-loaded deals, and you can do that in certain instances, but the Cardinals are choosing. It's interesting to backload some of this money with Sweat and Tomlinson. What do you make of that, looking at this via over the cap?
Yeah, I mean, it is always surprising to see. It's like Kyler Murray's number and then a steep fall off. Like we're talking about cornerbacks earlier in the show, 2 guys that are making $27, $28 million. And usually every NFL roster has a couple of those guys, 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 of those guys, where, the Cardinals have one guy making the most money. And then everybody else is like, you got a couple bunched in there between 16 and $10 million. And then everybody else is making just kind of chump change. But yeah, the Josh Sweat number, it's really kind of, after his 3rd season, he's only making like $17.3 or $4 million against the cap that year. So you're not seeing too much as far as Josh Sweat once he hits 30 being on the books. Like you can get out of that. It's about a 2 to 3 year contract, really. That's disguised as a 4-year deal.
We talked about it. Trey McBride is going to be the 2nd highest paid player on the team within the next 6 months. Probably going to clear $20 million a year, rightfully so, deserving. And then you got to start thinking about Garrett Williams. You got to start thinking about Paris Johnson Jr. in the next couple of years. It's a good problem to have, but within this window of not paying those guys big money, you got to win, right? And that's why it's imperative that you have to spend in the short term. And that's why I think a move for a Denzel Ward or a Jaire Alexander, you want to take a swing at a trade for a veteran, which I was told before the offseason began, they were going to explore, obviously, both the free agent market and the trade market because they were in a unique position. Think about last year and the year before. 20-plus draft picks, right? Do they want to make all their draft picks this year? Sure. Do they have to do that? They do not, right? We know how easily Ossenfort can manipulate the draft board, trade up, trade down. Who's to say he's not going to flip a day 2 pick before the draft and subsequently be able to take on $20 to $25 million in salary for a player that can get – it's all about getting them over the hump, adding players that are unequivocally better than they have. Ward and Alexander are infinitely better than Sean Murphy-Bunting that has a ceiling to help them get from 8 wins to 11 or 12 wins. That's what this is about.
And I'll make a prediction here that if he does flip a pick before the draft, that means he's going to be aggressive that 3-day stretch for the draft. Like, I don't think he'd be happy and content with, 4 draft picks, whatever it cost him to get a premium player onto this roster. Not to say he's not going to do it. He was willing to do it, as you've reported, during the regular season, right before the deadline. But I think he'll probably maneuver each round by, trading down and accumulating more draft capital during the event instead of like before, because you can't really do much as far as accumulating more draft capital between now and the top of the draft. Like you got to start to see how those dominoes fall.
Let's talk about the dominoes of a mock draft via our friends at the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. I was a nasty boy last Friday. I hopefully have been forgiven for my transgressions here, taking Cam Scabo at pick 47. We're going to try to play nice here and put together a nice, hearty, wholesome mock draft roughly 1 month out of the 2025 Big Dance. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to get started via our friends at PFF and the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. Bo, Cardinals are selected. How many rounds do you want to do? I think at least 4. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do let's get to 5.
Okay, let's do 5. So obviously Cardinals don't have a 6th rounder yet. And they have a 7th. So we'll go top 5 rounds here, and we'll enter this bad boy. All right. So
I do feel a little I don't feel comfortable with you manning the controls. I really don't. I wish that I could kind of take over. But look, this is the hand that we've been dealt, and we'll just see if you are going to be a man of your word, which I'm real skeptical about, but let's continue.
Have you done one recently on your own, by the way? Cause I do feel like the results have been a little wonky. Should I have messed with the pre-draft settings? Like in terms of like randomness, team need. I feel like I need to go back here for a second. So I'm going to go back to the mock draft simulator here. So the last time we did this, like draft for need, randomness. Yeah, I just public versus PFF board maybe go up a little bit. Okay. I don't know. Positional value, we should go up a little bit more. Okay, there I feel good about that. The last one we did on Friday, maybe I'm going to use it as an excuse. I just didn't love where we sat in terms of the players being drafted ahead. So we're going to get started.
Was it like Shador still on the board in the second round?
And it was bizarre. All right, so let's see here. So we're going to get this started. Travis Hunter goes first overall.
Way to change those sliders to really work. We're gonna have to get out of this.
Okay,
we don't have a quarterback pick. It's the.
All right, I'm going back.
Overall selection.
It's a great start to this mock draft, by the way. All right, so you want me to leave it alone? I'll leave it alone.
Just leave it alone.
All right, leave it alone.
Don't touch the sliders. Don't touch anything. Don't even look at it.
Why don't we intro it again?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, here we go. It's a mock draft.
We got a mock draft. Johnny he's sworn that he's not going to hijack it, and he's going to allow Damon and myself in the chat to do some good work here. But we'll see if he is a man of his word. So you've stopped the draft.
I did, to kind of look at take a breath.
Mm-hmm.
The first 5 picks.
Let's take a beat here.
Yeah.
And Cam Ward 1-1. That's how Adam Schefter reported on McAfee the other day. Said regardless if it's the Titans or whoever may be selecting Cam Ward, he expects to go 1-1. Travis Hunter 2 to the Browns. Abdul Carter 3 to the Giants. Mimbu 4 to the Patriots. Mason Graham to the Jags at 5. So I'm curious. So you stopped just because Graham went off the board and there's no threat of a trade up here?
Yeah, and I just want to be able to kind of take a lay of the land here. Genty at 6 would make some sense, and he goes there.
Yeah.
Jets go Will Campbell, like that pick for them a lot. Shamir Stewart, that's a shocker for Carolina. McMillan, T-Mac does go in the top 10. He goes to the Saints. The Saints are always liable to do some wacky stuff.
Or T-Mac going to the Saints, having to catch balls, at least to begin with, from Derek Carr. I like this. I think this is via Twitter. Somebody, I'm sure they're using their Emperor Kermit voice that execute Order 47, Johnny.
The shocker of the first round so far, the Bears at 10 take a safety from South Carolina, the top safety presumably on the board.
Absolute freak show at the combine. Yeah, put on a whole display there. Keeping it going, the loser Niners here at 11 because they finished dead last in the division. Let's not forget that. Oh, they're gonna couple George Kittle and Ty Warren together. That's a little wanky. Mikael Williams goes to Dallas. Jahad Campbell goes to the Miami Dolphins. You got the corner out of Texas, Barron, going to the Colts. And then you got the BC edge rusher going one spot ahead of the Cardinals to the Falcons.
I mean, like Tyler Warren, I think you can't warrant that if you're San Francisco, but I mean, that is good value considering where a lot of people place him. As Fran Duffy mentioned, be pretty surprised if he didn't go top 12. Yeah. Cardinals, I mean, it's like we do these mock drafts and it's like it's the same cast of characters every week. I feel like they're not going to take Malachi Starks. So then it's literally we come on this every week and it's like Pierce, maybe Mike Green's available, Will Johnson, Kenneth Grant. And then obviously PFF is not high on Walter Nolan. As you're sitting here right now, again, I think I don't want to double dip here, but I think a trade down needs to be strongly considered, Bo.
Well, there's 5 teams that are interested in getting up the board. I told you about my internal struggle about James Pierce Jr. I'm starting to be kind of pulled that way. Los Angeles Chargers want to get up. Let's see, 22nd overall. So you'd be dropping 6 spots. You could get you could get 55 and probably couldn't get that. Can you get a future third?
Maybe not a future third. Yeah, maybe, but I think I'd rather have 125. Don't you?
No.
Okay, we're gonna go future third. You want to offer this?
Yeah, let's see what we got.
Okay, Chargers. They did accept the trade, so we're going down 6 spots here. I don't have an issue with this. Again,
we got 22nd, 55, and a future third round pick from Jim Harbaugh and crew. So then going off the clock, Jim Harbaugh, he wanted to get up and get his former player Kenneth Grant. Mike Green goes to the Bengals. Will Johnson goes to the Seahawks. Bucks are on the clock. Jalen Walker's gone. Broncos, they're going to take Booker out of Alabama, the guard. Josh Simmons goes pick before the Cardinals. to the Steelers. James Pierce Jr., I think it's probably the easy option there unless you want to go down the board to Derek Harmon at 22nd.
I don't.
Walter Nolan.
How many picks do you need? I mean, I'd be tempted to go and do one more trade here, but for the sake of this mock draft, we won't get gross. I think you don't push your luck here. You get James Pierce Jr. and an additional second. I think that's the play, gentlemen.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Drafting James Pierce Jr. in our second trade down in less than a week. Everybody else kind of getting picked over here at the tail end of the first round. I don't anticipate, let's pause this bad boy real quick here. So, we kind of take stock here. Walter Nolan is gone, and so is Derek Harmon. Mm-hmm. So those are the two players, like conventional wisdom suggests, could you trade up for them? But they go, outside of a realm of possibility without packaging both second round picks here. I just wanted to check that. So we'll let this play out here.
Couple picks away.
I mean, here's where I'm at with this, gentlemen. You tell me how you feel. I think you double dip at edge rusher here with the availability of some of these players and the fact that you have 55. I think that Zaven Collins, Baron Browning could be gone after this year. Sweat's your only long-term piece. I think you take Landon Jackson here at 47. Am I nuts? Or Shamar Stewart, which is probably not realistic.
I think Landon Jackson is also kind of a bigger style defensive end as well, wouldn't you say, where he's a little bit more versatile? Not quite Darius Robinson.
What's he about, 6'7", 260?
Yeah, he could. I think you could add a little bit more weight to his frame as well. I think he can be kind of a versatile D lineman for this team.
He's a freak show. I'm with you. Damon's right. He's 6'7", 280. We saw him on the plane coming back from the NFL Combine.
Damon interviewed him.
Yeah, Damon literally, he was trying to keep to himself. He was in first class. We were headed to the back of the plane, and Damon basically turned on the content machine and had an in-depth conversation with Landon Jackson. In all seriousness,
exclusive scoop for this show: Landon Jackson did in fact meet with the Arizona Cardinals at the NFL Combine.
He did. It's unconventional, but it doubles your chances that you hit on one of these two guys.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you're looking at Shamar Turner from Texas A&M or Alfred Collins down there from Texas. Some true beef in the interior. And
take them at 55 you want.
Yeah, you certainly could.
I feel like when you trade down this pick, you're playing with house money right now. And your biggest weakness is getting after the quarterback. Like, I'm sorry, Zaven Collins.
Roll down the available prospects real quick. All right. So, Scat, JT,
a lot of running backs. I mean,
you could take one of the interior defensive linemen here and then take the tackle out of Minnesota with 55.
Is that the best value, though? I don't think you force the defensive tackle selection if the value isn't there. And I think Landon Jackson could be a first-round pick. Are you just worried about snap counts and enough?
Yeah, are you going to be able to play the guy enough? I mean, Sweat, Baron Browning, B.J. Ojulari, Zaven Collins, James Pierce Jr.
I'm sorry to B.J. Ojulari and Zaven Collins and Baron Browning, but I mean, the future of this position group is Sweat and these two young kids. And and to Damon's point, you can move them all over. But I mean, you want to take Alfred Collins. Here's the thing with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a true run stuffer. He's a mountain of a man.
Okay.
He is not
the thing. Like, that's the good thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, he is, and he's an older player. He's almost 24. Rotational player with starting potential, according to PFF, was a 5-star recruit. I mean, yeah, he'd be a great addition for the Cardinals defensive line. I don't have an issue.
I don't want you to get taken him by the PFF rankings here. Like, I see Alfred Collins, and I think that might be probably just the best use of this pick.
No problem. I think Landon Jackson's a better prospect, but we did just take an edge rusher.
Yeah.
So okay,
and that's the debate that I think is key for just when you look at the Cardinals draft, 16th overall. Do you take a Walter Nolan or one of the top interior defensive linemen because of all the potential down here?
1,000%. 1,000%. And that's what we were just trying to dissect with Fran. It's like, you take a D tackle at 16 because you know it's going to be a treasure trove for edge rusher. All right, Bo, you make the call.
Yeah, let's do Alfred Collins here.
Real quick, I did want to ask, like, I mean, you would consider Dalvin Tomlinson like a nose tackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Alfred Collins also a nose tackle, or is he more of a defensive tackle? Because do you need two of those guys?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, do you invest so heavily? Do you invest a second round pick and $15 million contract into two of those guys in one off?
I just feel like it's a conversation about Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols. Like, how quick can we get those guys off the team?
Fair.
I just don't want guys who can't play.
I think Landon Jackson can play both of those guys' position, or maybe not Justin Jones, but I think he can play Bilal Nichols' position.
I do too, Damon. I'm with you. I think he can play a 3-4 defensive end, Calais Campbell style, not full time, but I just think, to your point, there's more scheme versatility with him.
I'm just playing devil's advocate
right
here.
No, I hear you. And like Tomlinson at 31, 32 years old, and you get probably more versatility from Alfred Collins.
Yeah.
Let's go with the kid out of Texas, interior defensive lineman. Surprised Scabo isn't already on the team already with Johnny on the controls here. All right, we've made it down to 55.
Look what the Seahawks did. Landon Jackson, and they get Princely. So
no, you love their draft. You would. Scat's still on the board. JT out of Ohio State.
Must have had a bad video go out the day of the draft.
Shadur. Yeah. Captain Jack Sawyer. Let's keep going down the board here. I told you, like, I like the Ursi pick here. I mean, this could be your right tackle of the future.
Yeah. I mean,
Shadur at 55 is tough to pass up, fellas.
Can you imagine what our life would be if somehow
content gold.
Yeah.
I mean, his numbers
over the DNVR buffs. It'd be PHNX.
Kyler and Shadur on the same team would be good vibes, man.
Yeah. Kyler, you'd have to get Kyler out of here. That you make the pick, and Kyler would have to be a one-way ticket to Tennessee or whomever didn't get a quarterback in the top 5.
Let's get Ursi here. Let's make it quick with the Minnesota tackle. Good Senior Bowl. Puts forth some film there. Johnny, you've been such a good sport here. I want to give this pick to you.
Oh, I appreciate that. So nice. But I do like the value here. I would sign up for this draft tomorrow. Again, James Pierce Jr., to me, in any scenario, if they vet him, is a home run because his production and the conference that he played in, it's a chef's kiss. All right. Well, we can get a little gross here.
I knew you would. That's why my president, I think, is so good.
Okay, well let's get gross. All right, so the Cardinals pick 78. We're gonna give the Green Bay Packers a call, and we're gonna see on the availability of one Jaire Alexander staying on the bar.
Scat went just a couple picks ahead. If you were just paying attention, maybe you could have gotten back in there. He went to the Cowboys at 76.
We're forcing this trade here via the mock draft simulator because I do believe the Packers would take 78 for Jaire Alexander. So you gave me the reins, and I said I was going to get gross. We're going to trade pick 78 for 28-year-old former LSU phenom Jaire Alexander to come in and man CB 1-2 next to Max Melton. Everybody on board with this? I don't care. We're forcing this trade. All right. Bo can't say I was bad because he told me I could do it.
I like how you gave him the reins there, and like immediately he had a plan in place. He knew what pick he was going to use.
Man, he knew exactly what he was looking for.
I saw all linebackers, and I was like,
I'm cash register immediately. That's what he did right there.
The formulas they've been going in his head the entire time, and he's like, if I get the ability to make a pick here, I'm gonna set the world on fire.
All right, Damon, since I gifted Johnny a pick, let's see what you got here. Let's go. We're now in the 4th round.
That pick was burning a hole in my pocket so fast.
It's not, but here's where I'm at, guys. And I feel like we're in the 4th round. You're not drafting for need anymore, right?
Okay.
You're not establishing or filling a need right now by making a pick by position. And I'm looking at the board, and I see Andrew Makuba, who I really like here, safety out of Texas. Ooh. I think it's disrespectful that he's on the board still.
Wow.
I know the Cardinals don't need a safety, but I'm trying to pick good football players. I'm going with Andrew Makuba.
I love that pick, Damon, for a lot of different reasons. I'm with you. House money on day 3. Jalen Thompson probably gone after this year. And Budda Baker, he signed a 3-year deal. That's a 2-year deal. Just keep that pipeline healthy. Get playmakers. This kid's a big-time playmaker. Look what he did against Georgia and ASU and Clemson. Remember that Clemson game for Texas? That was a hell of a matchup. He had a bad game against Ohio State. Newsflash. So did everybody else. Again, you love the size. 6 foot, just approaching 200 pounds.
Was that Georgia last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Transferred to Texas. And to Hannibal's point here, saying fourth safety in the chat, didn't Jonathan Gannon tell us explicitly we're gonna pick another safety?
Yes. I mean, he loves the position. And again, like Jalen Thompson's cap hit, everybody, this year is almost $14 million. I mean, that you're not paying that those aren't indefinite contracts here. And I love Jalen Thompson. Taylor Demerson and this kid out of Texas in 2 or 3 years are going to be combined making no money. Welcome to the NFL, the way it should be. All right, Bo. Chef's kiss, the coup de grace, the 5th round pick to put a bow on this mock.
Yeah, let's get a playmaker for the passing game, right? Because we're looking for a little speed. I already see one that's standing out to me. I like Kyle Williams out of Washington State. I don't know if he profiles. He's got close to 400 yards in the slot.
Good size.
Good size, sure. I think that's the play. You guys like any of the receivers in here?
Not enough to make a fuss about it. I'm going cold turkey with the wideouts this year just because of, last year we were so in depth on the receivers beyond just Marv. So I think you're just taking a flyer.
A 440 flat at the combine. He's got the speed you want. He's got a little bit more size.
I like this right here. 17 yards a catch. In a conference that let's just call a spade a spade. It's not a real conference anymore, but still. I like it. Let's do it.
Let's finish this thing off strong. I like it.
So again, this mock draft, very meat and potatoes early on. Then we get a little bit of sizzle in the middle. We got to have some, but I think has a chance to really be. I mean, if you rolled out a draft weekend with this mock right here, James Pierce Jr., Alfred Collins. How do you pronounce the kid out of Minnesota, Bo?
Ursi,
and then trading your original 3rd at 78 for Jaire Alexander.
Yeah.
And then a playmaking safety and a wide receiver, both flyers for high athletic kids. I mean, I like what I see, gentlemen.
I do. I mean, PFF, a little harsh as far as the grades here. C- for Arante Ursi. I'm going to have to talk to Trevor Sikkema about this. But yeah, I mean, look at Damon just clocking with an A. Just like, hey, my number's called, and I'm going to put up big productive minutes here.
It's a team project, and some people would argue that without my pick, we wouldn't have gotten the overall grade of an A.
Yeah, true.
That tracks for the kind of student Damon was.
Yeah,
this is more my speed right here. This is my contribution. Good stuff. Let's get to your super chat. See, I told you we could have some fun here on a PFF mock draft.
We're late though. We got to hurry up here.
Or we're being, we got 11 super chats. Let's jump in. Ryan Walker, $5. You guys happen to see today's CBS Sports mock draft? Check it out. Chris Tapasso, he's usually a little bit off kilter. So Ryan, we'll have to check that out and get back to you. Bo's looking that up now. I'll keep things going. Chaz, $1.99. The force is strong with JV. Come on, Mr. Brock. After Bo butchered Han shot first earlier with Guido, not Guido, in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, hey, Han, you shooting at me? What are you doing?
Hey, Han, where's my freaking gabagool here on Tatooine? Yes, Chaz, we appreciate it. We're going to do in the offseason, I think, a watch along of one or several Star Wars movies with Bo and Damon in studio.
Oh, boy.
We can chain Bo to a chair. Damon.
Mark Stewart was the pick for the Cards in Chris's CBS draft, but keep it going.
Hate that. No, I'm warming up to that. Damon, $1.99. Stoked to catch one live. Best sports podcast. Go. We appreciate you, Damon. We try, my guy.
We do. We really appreciate that. Neo Man, $1.99 off topic, but any news on Prater? I just think Prater's time with the Cardinals come to a close. It's not a contract, and Chad Ryland is, and I just think that's your place kicker going forward.
Chad Ryland's younger and cheaper. It's an open and shut case. Chris, $5, 100% K1 is starting QB, but I want competition. How do we feel about Jalen Milroe? Dude is a monster. I can't believe he can battle for the number 2 spot now. I love the idea of Jalen Milroe, Chris. I've been staunchly committed to that. I would take him within the top 100, understanding that Jacoby Brissett is the backup this year. But it would give Jalen Milroe every opportunity, Chris, to come in and have no expectations and just learn from Drew Petzing and Jonathan Gannon. I think that's the best way to set him up for success.
How about this generous $19.99 super chat? Thank you so much, David Booth. I was blessed today and wanted to share the love. Been a painful few years with a lot of time in hospital beds and physical therapy after an amputation. Thanks for all the content and laughter when I really needed it. Man, thank you, David. Just wishing you nothing but the best in your recovery. And we're glad that we could just be a part of maybe some time you can enjoy there going through some tougher times.
David, if you're ever in the Phoenix area, whether you live here or you're traveling, hit us up. Our DMs are open. We'd love to connect, my guy, hang out, grab a cold one, see you at a draft party. But yeah, hit us up, man. We appreciate you. Those comments mean more than you could ever imagine. Austin M, 199. Hendrickson plus a Michigan corner at 16 or Ward. Jaire Alexander plus a top D end. I think Hendrickson because he's the better player, but it feels like the Bengals. I mean, do they have any money left? They're going to try to re-sign him.
Those are both money moves. I would go with the young DE and the veteran corner. That's what I would go with. B's $2.
Headshot, Austin. By the way,
huh? Yeah,
great headshot for Austin.
B's $2. Reunite Donovan Jackson with Justin Fry and Paris, the versatile offensive lineman for the Buckeyes. AZ Moses, 89. Yeah. You got a problem with Donovan Jackson?
No, where would you take him? 47? I don't know.
Probably too rich. Got my Maserati Marv shirt and it's fire. #diehard. Thank you, AZ Moses. We are pumped to have you aboard. Ryan Walker, $5. Trade back in your mock draft and take Donovan Jackson.
Wow, there's another.
Justin Fry. A lot of people love it.
I don't want to use a too high of a pick on a player that probably won't play this year, but I understand. I mean, a potential need that could elevate in 12 to 18 months. No doubt about it. Dana, our ball knower, $5. Don't let him have one-on-one bull rush. Congratulations. You've eliminated 90% of Kenneth Grant's ability to affect the game. No lateral skill on film. Well, somebody needs to let the Cardinals know. Dana's got a robust scouting report on Kenneth Grant. And Dana, I think our guy Fran Duffy agrees with you. He's got Kenneth Grant outside of the first round in terms of a top prospect. So I think you have to weigh the pedigree and what he accomplished versus how he projects. I think Walter Nolan projects as a better NFL player.
Josh, last super chat, $9.99. My friend put me on to this pod a couple months ago. Been listening nonstop since. Keep up the great work, boys. Thanks for the great content. Thank you to your friend. We appreciate that. Him spreading the word. Now you're a friend. You're part of this community. Leave a like for the show. Subscribe to this channel, of course. And we're going to be talking about this mock draft for years after this. It was special. It was special what we all accomplished. It's because of all of you. And, of course, the work on this crew. Johnny, Venerable, Damon, Dawg, me, I'm Bo Brack. We'll be back with you tomorrow, barring any breaking news here on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.